Before I go on with more head stuff, let's do a little meditation. Let's close our eyes for a moment. And just breathe. Just breathe. Sometimes we make spirituality so complicated. And it doesn't need to be. It can be just as simple as closing our eyes, turning within to the God that we understand, and breathing. Breathing. Sitting still long enough that we can feel that presence. And so I just invite us to do that for a moment. Whatever you understand about God, allow it to be fully present. Allow yourself to know that it is right here where you are, surrounding you, holding you, loving you, guiding you. Imagine that every breath is a breath of God, because it is. We don't know how to breathe ourselves. A power greater than we are breathes us. Every breath reminds me of the source that created me. So we just breathe. And in this quiet place, if you can just say the words, I am perfect, quietly to yourself, I am perfect. Knowing that we're not talking about some human image. We're talking about your spiritual truth. I am magnificent. I magnify the God inside me. And I let that magnification go out into the world. So simple. Breathe. Feeling that presence, I invite you to open your eyes. Imagine 800 people sitting in a room, listening to the likes of Mr. Jamie Lula, and a pianist, an electronic keyboardist, a drummer, probably 3 or 4 other singers being back up to him. Maybe throw in a harmonica, a couple of guitars. Jamie gets around.
And most spiritual.
What we used to call our summer camp up at Asilomar. And all kinds of conferences all around the globe. He gets invited to sing in these teams of brilliant musicians. Now imagine yours truly getting to step into that energy and getting to speak, getting to lead, because I've been a leader and a speaker. But the thing that just fires me up is that energy is set for me. And so the speaker who gets up to speak with 800 people listening to this kind of a setup, it's like, oh my God, you cannot fail at that. And to step into that energy is just so beautiful. So I'm just kind of doing that now, even though it's only you two and not a 10-piece band up here. I'm just stepping into that energy and remembering how wonderful it feels. It's a symbiotic relationship. I love it. So let me just take this a little bit further. This whole idea that our spiritual magnificence leads the way when we let it. Let me also remind us that every single one of us have what I would call God-given gifts. The things that we seem to have come into this world with. The things that are our passions, our hobbies, the things that even as little tykes, we start to see our hobbies, we start to see the things we like to do. God-given gifts and talents and purposes to give this world. Every single one of us have them. And I like to remind us that it doesn't matter what socioeconomic opportunities we did or didn't have. It doesn't matter if we have any kind of physical or intellectual or emotional disabilities. It doesn't matter other people's perceptions of us. Because any kind of a disability or what seems like a less than social, economic thing, none of that is bad or wrong. It is just different. It is just different. And each one of us We're all doing our best to express ourselves as we are. And that's true for everybody on the planet. So part of a world that works for everyone, in my mind, is being able to see people who are different than me and know that they too have gifts and purposes and talents to give the world. Disability doesn't mean bad. Different doesn't mean bad. We all have the God-given talents that want to come through us. And what we can begin to do to help this world that works for everyone is to drop comparing each other. It has been a big lesson for me, who grew up as a dancer and everything was compared. Who had the best splits? Who has the highest kick? Who can do 10 pirouettes instead of 3? My goodness, it goes on and on. The comparison and the competition, I get that sometimes competition can kind of drive us a little bit, but it becomes dysfunctional when we have to stand in a place that says somebody is better and somebody is worse. We're part of the problem when we do that. This person doesn't have to be better or worse. And we can drop the idea of comparing one person to another. Encourage ourselves to be the best God self we can, and encourage others around us to do the same. I don't have to say, well, my style of intelligence is better than your kind of intelligence. It's just the spiritual magnificence moving through everybody. So let's be the people who drop the comparison. And you know who you got to start with, right? You got to start with you. You got to start with you. Like I said about self-respect, when I respect myself, I respect you. When I drop comparing myself, I drop comparing you. And I don't mean just you in the seats. I mean the general, broader you. A couple more things to finish up. Ernest Holmes, in this little book called This Thing Called You, which he wrote in 1948, is still just as true right now. Since no two persons are alike, there must be a unique place for you in the scheme of things. The divine pattern would be imperfect without you. Dare to be yourself. Stand in wonder before the majesty and the might, the beauty and the power of that divine presence which seeks expression through your individual life. The divine pattern would be imperfect without you. Dare to be yourself. That's challenging at times in a world that does its best to make us all conform to what we think it's supposed to be. And I know I can just say this one little thing and you'll get it. Television commercials. Television commercials are trying to conform us every day. I can say another word. High school. Think of certain things. They're like trying to get us to conform, to be, we don't want to be ourselves. As we grow up and mature, we start to say, I am going to dare to be myself. I don't want us to dare like this. Dare that. I want us to dare like this.
Yes.
The spiritual magnificence that I'm going to welcome and invite to come through me, I'm going to dare that way. Because that is fun, and that is playful, and that is easy, and that's not... Right? So we're going to let ourselves be ourselves. I also have an Emerson quote, another one that I put up here. And I love this. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within.
One more time, Joe.
What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. This to me reminds me that no matter how many times I might not have felt magnificent, so it reminds me that no matter what's coming, I can trust it, magnificence or not, that's just my judgment anyway, compared to what lies within us. Right here, right now, in this very moment, the thing that lies within us is none other than God. In our own understanding, that one source moving through us in our own perfect way. Those things are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And our job is to magnify that. Magnificence comes from magnify. What are we magnifying? Are we magnifying our mistakes? Are we magnifying the times that we feel less than? Are we magnifying our spiritual magnificence? I'm just going to end by saying it's time to wake up to your spiritual